The hall was silent except for the soft hum of alien machines. Strange blue light ran along the walls like veins of energy. The air smelled of metal, smoke, and fear. Evan stood in the center, his eyes covered by a black band. He could not see the crowd of Vraxians watching him, but he could feel their presence, the way their clawed feet scraped the floor, the way their voices hissed in amusement. He was a human soldier, captured in the final days of the Galactic War. He had fought bravely for Earth, until an explosion of plasma had taken his sight. Now he stood before his enemies, blind but unbroken. The Vraxians were tall creatures, half armor, half flesh. Their bodies shimmered like wet stone. They were proud, cruel, and obsessed with strength and beauty. To them, humans were weak, fragile animals that spoke too much about peace. At the end of the hall sat the High Council. Behind them stood General Vraxian, the Vraxian war hero who hated humans more than anyone. "This one," Vraxian said coldly, "is to be our offering. The humans wanted peace. We will give them a symbol of peace." The crowd laughed, a dark, echoing sound that filled the hall. A smaller alien, perhaps a servant, whispered near Evan's ear. "They are giving you a mate, human." The general's own sister. Evan tilted his head. "A mate?" he said quietly. The servant hissed in a mocking tone. "Do not be happy. She is a curse. The ugly one. The one who hides her face in the dark. They think you will not know because you cannot see." The laughter grew louder. Evan could feel it like heat on his skin. He smiled faintly, not out of joy but defiance. He raised his chin. "Then bring her," he said. "Let me meet this gift of yours." The Vraxians went silent for a moment. Even blind, his calm voice carried something powerful, something they did not understand. The heavy metal doors opened with a hiss. Footsteps followed, soft, careful, almost afraid. Evan turned his head toward the sound. He could hear her breathing, fast, uneasy. The room grew colder. Even the aliens seemed uncomfortable. Then the servant spoke again, almost gleeful. "Human, this is Shalra, sister of General Vraxian. She is yours as the peace bond demands." There was silence. Evan felt her presence, not close, but near enough that he could sense her warmth. The air changed. It carried a faint, sweet scent like rain on hot stone. Evan smiled slowly. "Hello, Shalra," he said softly. "I am Evan." No answer came. Only a soft sound, like someone holding back tears. The crowd began whispering again. He could hear their cruel words. "She's trembling. He doesn't know what she looks like. Poor blind creature." Evan turned his head toward them. "You laugh," he said quietly, "because you think blindness is weakness. But tell me, if I cannot see, why do I feel your shame in the air?" The laughter stopped. Even General Vraxian froze for a second. Evan continued, his voice steady, calm, dangerous. "You mock what you do not understand. You hide your fear behind armor and light, but I have lived in darkness. And in the dark, truth has a sound. I can hear it now. And it's trembling." Shalra gasped softly. Her breath caught. For the first time in her life, someone was speaking not to her ugliness but to her soul. General Vraxian slammed his hand on the metal floor. "Enough, take them to the human quarters. Let the blind fool live with his mistake." Evan heard the hiss of guards moving closer. He didn't fight. He just turned his head slightly toward Shalra's breathing and whispered, "Do not be afraid. I am not." As they were led out, Shalra dared to glance at him. His eyes were hidden, but his face carried no fear, no disgust, only calm curiosity. In that moment, a strange feeling grew in her heart. No one had ever looked at her that way, not even without sight. Later, when they reached a quiet room lit by soft blue light, the guards left them alone. Shalra stayed near the door, her long claws trembling. Evan sat down slowly on the cold floor and smiled faintly. "They say you are ugly," he said gently. "But I don't believe them," she flinched. You cannot see." Evan nodded. "True, but I can hear your voice and it doesn't sound ugly. It sounds lonely." Her breath shook. "You're a strange human. And you are kind," he said. "That's what frightens them." Shalra said nothing. She turned her face away, but inside her chest, something small and warm began to stir. A feeling she didn't know. Outside, the alien night was silent. But somewhere deep in the halls of the Vraxian fortress, a shadow of change had begun to move. The aliens thought they had humiliated a blind man. They had no idea. They had just given him the key to their greatest secret. and the galaxy would never be the same again. The next morning, the strange blue light of the alien room pulsed gently through the walls. It felt alive, breathing with a slow rhythm. Evan sat on the cold metal floor, listening to the distant hum of the Vraxian city beyond. He could hear machines moving, air hissing through pipes, and far away, the heartbeat of life in a world not his own. Shalra was standing by the window. She hadn't spoken all night. Her tall body was wrapped in a long, dark cloth that hid her face. Her claws clicked softly against the floor as she shifted her weight. She was afraid, not of the human, but of herself. Evan tilted his head slightly. "You haven't said a word since they left us," he said calmly. His voice was quiet, almost kind. She turned away. "You do not want to hear my voice," she whispered. "It frightens others. It disgusts them." Evan smiled faintly. "You sound nervous," he said. "Not disgusting." Shalra looked at him confused. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Every Vraxian who saw her turned away in disgust or mocked her. Her skin was rougher than theirs. Her eyes glowed with uneven colors, and her wings, once small and delicate, had grown in strange, twisted shapes. She was a shame to her family. "Why are you kind to me?" she asked, her voice breaking slightly. "You do not know what I look like." Evan turned his blind face toward her. "That's true," he said. "But I can feel what people carry in their voice. You sound lonely, and lonely people are never monsters." For a long time, neither spoke. The alien air system hummed softly, filling the silence. Finally, Shalra took a deep breath and asked, "Do you hate my people?" Evan thought for a moment. "No," he said slowly. "Hate is easy. It makes you blind in another way." She blinked. "You speak of blindness often," she said. "Does it not make you weak?" He smiled. "No, it makes me listen better. It makes me feel more. I learn to see in different ways." Shalra tilted her head, curiosity rising in her heart. "Different ways?" Evan nodded. "Through sound, through the way people breathe when they lie, through the warmth of their hands. I can see through truth." His words struck something deep in her. Her people never cared about truth, only appearance, power, and form. But this human spoke of unseen things, of beauty that wasn't made of shape or light. She stepped closer, the air growing heavy. Evan could feel her presence and the soft shift of air as she moved, the faint scent that followed her. It wasn't foul or sharp like other aliens he'd met. It was soft, like the first rain before a storm. "You move quietly," he said. "You're trying not to scare me." Shalra froze. "You can tell?" Evan chuckled softly. "Every movement has a sound. You walk like someone who's used to being hated." Her breath caught. She lowered her head. "They call me the cursed one. Even my brother wishes I had never been born." Evan leaned forward slightly. "Then he's a fool," he said firmly. "Because I can tell you have more heart than all of them." Her claws trembled. No one had ever defended her before. Outside, the sound of marching soldiers echoed faintly through the corridor. Evan could tell the guards were changing shifts. He listened closely. "Your people don't trust peace, do they?" he asked. Shalra shook her head. "They see peace as weakness. They only respect fear." "Then they'll never understand humans," Evan said quietly. "Because we survive on hope, not fear." Shalra moved closer again until she stood only a few feet away. Her claws clicked softly. "And yet," she said, "your hope brought you here, blind and chained." Evan smiled again, this time darker, sharper. "Maybe," he said. "But sometimes the prisoner sees the truth the jailer cannot." She stared at him, puzzled and fascinated. This human spoke as if his blindness gave him more vision than her glowing eyes ever could. For the first time, she dared to sit beside him. The floor was cold, but near him it felt strangely warm. He turned slightly, sensing her closeness. "Tell me something, Shalra," he said softly. "What color is your sky?" "Our sky?" She hesitated. "It is violet, with silver clouds." "Sounds beautiful," Evan said. "So why do you all live underground?" Shalra's voice grew bitter. "Because our people fear light. It reveals flaws," Evan chuckled quietly. "Then maybe light is what they need most." For a long moment they sat in silence. Her claws relaxed. His breathing slowed. Two broken beings from different worlds, sitting together in a peace their species would never understand. Then suddenly a metal knock shook the door. A voice shouted in the alien tongue. Shalra stood quickly, her claws flexing. "It's my brother," she whispered. The door slid open with a hiss. General Vrakor entered, tall and cold. His armor gleamed, his voice full of disgust. "So the human pet speaks to my sister?" Evan rose slowly, facing the voice. "I speak to her because she listens," he said simply. The general's claws clicked against the floor. "You dare mock me, human?" Evan smiled faintly. "Not at all. I'm just wondering, if I'm blind, why do I see you shaking?" The general froze for a heartbeat, rage flickering in his throat. "Enjoy your cell," he hissed. "Soon you'll beg to leave." As he left, Shalra stared at Evan in shock. "You should not have spoken to him that way. He could kill you." Evan turned toward her voice and smiled softly. "Maybe, but I think he's already afraid. Not of me, but of you." Shalra's heart pounded. For the first time, she wondered if the blind human saw something that no one else ever could, and somewhere deep inside her, a light that had long been buried began to stir. The nights on the Vraxian world were strange. The sky never truly went dark. Rivers of violet light ran through the clouds, glowing like veins across the heavens. The air hummed softly, filled with hidden energy. Inside the small chamber, Evan sat quietly on the floor, listening. Every hum, every echo, every soft vibration through the metal walls told him a story. He could hear the guards outside changing shifts, the faint clicking of Shalra's claws as she paced near the window, and even the rhythm of her heartbeat when she stopped moving. She had been restless all evening. Her mind was full of questions she didn't dare ask aloud. The blind human. How could he speak with such calm? How could he make her feel seen when her entire world had rejected her? Evan finally broke the silence. "You've been walking in circles for hours," he said softly. "You're thinking about something." Shalra turned sharply. "You can hear that?" He smiled faintly. "You walk differently when you're sad. The sound of your steps becomes smaller." Her voice trembled. "You notice everything." "I notice what most people ignore," Evan replied. "It's the only way to survive in the dark." She hesitated, then said, "You are not afraid of me?" "No," he said. "Should I be?" She was silent for a long time. Then she whispered, "My people think I bring bad luck. When I was born, the healers said I was broken. My eyes glow wrong. My skin changes color when I feel strong emotions. They said it was a disease." Evan leaned slightly forward. "A disease?" Shalra nodded, though she knew he couldn't see it. "Yes. When I was young, my skin turned gold one night. It frightened everyone. My brother locked me away for months." "Gold," Evan repeated softly. "That doesn't sound like sickness. It sounds like light." Her claws tightened against the metal wall. "Light is hated here. We are a people of shadow. Light exposes weakness." Evan tilted his head, thoughtful. "Then maybe your world fears the wrong thing." Shalra stared at him, unsure how to reply. She had never spoken to anyone who saw light as hope instead of danger. His words echoed inside her, strange but comforting. After a while, Evan said quietly, "Can I ask you something strange?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Ask." "When you speak," he said, "there's a scent around you, like rain after a storm. It changes when you feel things. When you were sad yesterday, it was sharp and it's like cold metal, but now it's softer, warmer." Shalra blinked, confused. "You can smell emotions?" Evan smiled. "No, I can smell truth." She frowned. "Truth has a scent?" "Maybe not for everyone," he said. "But I think your body tells stories your people refuse to hear." Her heart began to race. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Evan said slowly, "you might not be what they think you are. You're not ugly, Shalra. You're different, and they fear difference." Shalra turned away. "You are speaking foolishly. You have not seen me." Evan nodded. "That's exactly why I can see you better than they do." Her voice broke. "If you saw me, you would not say that." He smiled softly. Then describe yourself to me. She froze. No one had ever asked that before. For a moment she couldn't speak. Then she whispered, "My skin is gray, rough, not smooth like others. My eyes, one shines blue, the other green. My wings." She stopped, voice cracking. "They are twisted and broken. When I move them, they make an ugly sound." Evan listened quietly. Then he said, "That sound, can you make it now?" Shallara blinked, confused, but slowly opened her wings. The air filled with a soft, uneven hum like a musical note half remembered. Evan smiled. "That's not ugly," he said. "That's real. It sounds like something that wants to fly but hasn't been allowed to." Shallara's chest tightened. She looked at him, tears forming in her bright eyes. "You speak as if my broken parts are beautiful." "Maybe they are," he said gently. "Sometimes the cracks let the light escape." For the first time, she didn't hide her face. The violet light from the window touched her skin, and it shimmered faintly, not gray now, but soft silver. She didn't notice, but Evan did. Not with eyes, but with senses. He could feel the warmth shift in the room. He turned his head slightly. "Something's changing," he whispered. Shallara froze. "What do you mean?" "The air," he said. "It's glowing. You're glowing, aren't you?" Her eyes widened. She looked down and gasped. Her skin was shining again, faint gold light spreading from her chest. It wasn't painful. It felt alive. "How do you know?" she whispered. Evan smiled. "Because I can feel it. It smells like life itself." She trembled, fear and wonder fighting inside her. "This light, it's forbidden. If they see it, they'll kill me." "Then they'll never see it," Evan said softly. "Not until you're ready to show them." Shallara turned toward him, tears falling silently. For the first time, someone had not feared her light. Someone had called it beautiful. Outside the chamber, unseen by both of them, a red surveillance orb blinked awake. The Vraxian council was watching. Evan and Shallara didn't know it yet, but their small truth had just become a threat to an empire built on lies. And in the darkness, the scent of truth was spreading, sweet, sharp, and unstoppable. The following days felt colder. Even the walls seemed to whisper. Shallara could sense that something had changed outside their chamber. The guards no longer spoke near the door. The sound of boots came and went faster, more careful. Somewhere in the shadows, eyes were watching. Evan felt it too. He could feel the quiet. It was the wrong kind of silence, the kind that meant danger. He sat cross-legged on the floor, his head slightly tilted, listening. The hum of machines, the air vents, the steps of guards. Every sound painted a picture in his mind. But tonight the air felt heavier. "They're afraid," he said quietly. Shallara turned her glowing eyes toward him. "Who?" "Your people," Evan answered. "They saw something they don't understand." Her claws trembled. "You mean, my light?" He nodded. "Yes, you think they didn't notice? Cameras watch this room. When you glowed that night, they saw." Shalra's heart began to pound. "If they know, they'll call me cursed again. My brother will try to hide it," Evan finished calmly. "Because if others find out what you are, they'll start asking what it means. Maybe your light is something more, something they've forgotten." Shallara lowered her head. "You don't understand. The Vraxians built their empire on strength and fear. They crush anything that shows softness or beauty. Even the word love is forbidden here." Evan smiled faintly. "Then maybe love is the strongest thing in your world." She looked at him, confused. "You speak like love is a weapon." He shook his head. "No, it's a mirror. It shows who people truly are, and that scares them more than war." Outside the walls, General Vraxians stood before a tall holographic screen, his claws clasped behind his back. The council's image shimmered in blue light. One of the elders hissed, The human is dangerous, his words spread weakness. Vrakor's voice was cold. He is blind and powerless. But his presence affects your sister, another elder growled. We saw her light. The prophecy warns that if her light rises again, the old order will fall. Vrakor's claws dug into his palms. She is no prophecy. She is a shame. The elders leaned closer. Then prove it. End this bonding. Silence the human before he infects others with hope. The connection faded, leaving the general alone. His reflection stared back at him from the polished wall. His jaw clenched. Hope, he muttered bitterly. The human poison. Inside the chamber, Evan was teaching Shalra about music. He had asked her to hum softly while he tapped on the metal wall, turning rhythm into melody. The sound filled the room, warm and strange, a human sound in an alien world. Shalra smiled faintly. It feels alive, she said. It is, Evan replied. Music is what humans make when we can't say what we feel. Shalra tilted her head. Then what do you feel now? He paused. That something is coming, something dangerous. She frowned. You think my brother will hurt you? Evan nodded slightly. He wants to hurt what he can't control, but he'll make a mistake soon. Before she could ask more, the door slid open with a sharp hiss. The guards entered, 4 of them, armor gleaming. Behind them stood General Vrakor. His eyes burned as he stared at his sister. You shame me again, he said. You dare glow in front of the council? Shalra stepped back. It wasn't my choice, it just happens when you feel, he interrupted coldly. Weakness makes you shine like a fool. Evan stood slowly. Maybe weakness is not what you think, he said calmly. Vrakor turned sharply. You will speak only when spoken to, human. Evan tilted his head slightly. That's what cowards say when they fear the truth. The general's claws twitched. For a moment he wanted to strike the blind man, but something in Evan's stillness stopped him. The human didn't move like prey. He moved like someone waiting for a mistake. You talk of truth, Vrakor said. But you are nothing. A broken creature given a broken prize. Evan smiled faintly. Strange thing, he said. Even broken glass can reflect light. Shalra gasped softly. The guards hesitated, unsure if they should laugh or strike. Vrakor's voice dropped to a hiss. Enjoy your words, human. Soon you will have no tongue to speak them. He turned to his sister. And you, forget this creature. Tomorrow you will be taken for purification. The guards left with him, the door sealing behind them with a loud clang. Shalra fell to her knees, trembling. They'll kill me, she whispered. They'll destroy my light. Evan moved closer and rested his hand on the floor beside her. Then we can't stay here anymore, he said quietly. We run tonight, she stared at him. Run? You're blind, he smiled. And you can glow in the dark. Sounds like a good team to me. She blinked, half in fear, half in awe. You can't even see where to go. I don't need to, he said. I just need to listen. Evan rose to his feet and placed a hand on the cold wall. The hum of the metal sang beneath his fingers. A map of sound. There's a vent 2 levels below. I can hear the airflow. It leads outside. Shalra's heart raced. You can hear that? Evan nodded.
I told you, blindness is not darkness.
It's another way to see. For a long moment, Shalra stared at him, the golden light flickering faintly under her skin. She realized then that the human was not afraid. Not of her brother, not of this world, not even of death. And for the first time in her life, she felt something stronger than fear. She felt hope, glowing, quiet, and dangerous. The metal corridors of the Vraxian fortress were alive with sound. Boots striking the floor, alarms whispering in the distance, machines breathing like beasts. But deep below the noise, 2 figures moved quietly through the shadows. Evan led the way. His hands brushed the cold walls as he walked. His steps were slow but sure, each one guided by sound, vibration, and instinct. Shalra followed close behind, her golden light faint and trembling under her skin. How can you move so fast? She whispered. Evan smiled slightly. The floor speaks if you listen. It tells me where it's safe. You talk as if the world has a voice. It does, he said softly. Most people just stopped listening. The hallway opened into a dark maintenance tunnel. The air was damp, heavy with oil and dust. Shalra's wings brushed against the walls, making a faint metallic hum. Evan paused, tilting his head. "There's a vent up ahead," he murmured. "Leads outside into the lower jungle. But there are guards on the level above." Shalra frowned. "How do you know?" "I can hear their hearts," Evan said. "Too steady for machines." She stared at him in disbelief. "You are not just blind. You are something else," he chuckled softly. "Maybe blindness lets me notice what others can't." They reached the vent, a large circular opening covered by thick mesh. Shalra moved forward and pushed, but it didn't budge. "It's sealed," she whispered. Evan knelt beside it, running his hands along the edge. "Not sealed," he said. "Welded, old metal, weak in one corner." She looked at him. "How can you tell?" "The air," he said. "It leaks there." Without another word, Shalra lifted her claws and struck the corner he mentioned. Sparks flew and the vent broke open with a dull clang. A gust of humid air rushed in, fresh and wild. Freedom waited beyond. But before they could move, a harsh sound echoed behind them, the growl of approaching boots. Shalra turned sharply. "Guards!" Evan grabbed her arm. "Go, crawl through." She hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll follow, move." Shalra climbed into the vent, her claws scraping against the walls. The golden light from her body lit the narrow tunnel. Evan followed, his movements smooth and focused. The guards reached the corridor just as Evan disappeared into the darkness. One shouted, "They're escaping through the vent!" Blaster fire exploded against the wall, filling the tunnel with smoke and heat. Shalra cried out, "Evan!" "I'm fine," he called back. "Keep moving." The vent opened into a long chute that sloped downward. They slid through it like falling stars. The metal gave way to stone, then to the soft earth of the alien jungle below. The jungle was alive with sound, strange creatures calling in the night, leaves whispering in the wind. The ground pulsed faintly with bioluminescent roots, lighting their path with soft blue light. Shalra stumbled out first, breathing hard. Evan followed, landing on his feet. He turned his head slightly, feeling the air. "It's warm," he said. "We're far from the fortress." Shalra looked around, her golden eyes reflecting the alien sky. "I've never been outside this long," she whispered. "It feels beautiful," Evan smiled. "Then it's your world now." But the peace didn't last. From the distance came the sound of engines, the low, heavy growl of Vraxian hunter drones. "They're coming," Shalra said, fear returning to her voice. Evan turned his head toward the sound. "Then we hide," he said. "There, behind that ridge." They moved quickly, crouching under glowing plants that looked like silver feathers. The hum of the drones grew louder. Shalra's golden skin began to flicker with nervous energy. "Your light," Evan whispered. "You have to control it." "I can't," she said, trembling. "It happens when I'm afraid." Evan reached for her hand. "Then don't be afraid." She stared at him, her heart racing. "How?" "Listen," he said gently. "To me." He placed her hand over his chest. "Feel my heartbeat. Stay with its rhythm. Forget everything else." Her claws pressed lightly against his skin. Slowly her breathing matched his. The glow under her skin dimmed, becoming calm and steady. The drones passed above them, beams of light sweeping across the jungle, but they didn't see the two figures hidden beneath the roots. When the sound faded, Shalra exhaled shakily. "You saved us," Evan smiled faintly. "No, you saved yourself. I only reminded you how." She looked at him for a long time, her heart full of something new. This human, this fragile, blind creature, carried more sight than anyone she had ever known. Then a faint vibration rolled through the ground. Evan turned his head. "They're not giving up. We have to move toward the mountains." "Mountains?" she asked. "That's days away. Then we start walking," he said, "because the only way to see truth is to step out of the darkness that hides it." Shalra nodded slowly. The golden light beneath her skin glowed once more, not from fear but from strength. As they disappeared into the glowing jungle, the first drops of rain began to fall. The scent of truth, sharp, clean, and alive, filled the air once more. The rain had stopped hours ago, but the jungle still breathed with life. Mist floated between the tall, glowing trees, and strange birds whispered songs that sounded half like machines. Evan and Shalra walked in silence. Each step took them farther from the fortress, but not from danger. Evan's boots sank softly into the mud. He listened to every sound, the rustle of leaves, the hum of insects, the faint pulse of the planet beneath his feet. He knew they were being followed. "They're close," he said quietly. Shalra turned, her glowing eyes scanning the trees. "I don't see anyone. That's the problem," he murmured. "They're hiding their noise. Hunters." Before she could reply, the silence broke. A sharp crack of energy fire tore through the air. The ground exploded beside them. Shalra screamed and grabbed Evan's arm, pulling him behind a rock. Blinding blue light flashed again, and a cold metallic voice echoed through the trees. "By order of the Vraxian High Council, surrender." Shalra's heart pounded. "Evan, they found us," he nodded calmly. "I know," she looked at him, confused. "You're not afraid?" "I learned something about fear," he said softly. "It always loses to truth. But there were too many of them." Dozens of soldiers surrounded them in a circle of light. Shalra stepped in front of Evan, her claws raised. "Don't," he whispered. "If you fight now, they'll call you what they've always called you, a monster. But if you stand still, they'll see something they've never seen before." Tears filled her eyes. "And what is that?" He smiled faintly. "A miracle." The soldiers seized them both and dragged them back through the jungle. The journey felt endless. When they reached the fortress again, the gates opened to reveal the council hall, vast, cold, and full of cruel eyes. The elders sat on high thrones of stone and glass, their faces hidden behind silver masks. General Vraxians stood before them, tall and burning with anger. He pointed at Evan. "This human has broken the peace bond. He has stolen what is not his." Evan raised his head. "I stole nothing," he said quietly. "You gave her to me because you thought I was blind. You were right, but not in the way you think." The room fell silent. One of the masked elders hissed, "You speak boldly for a slave." "I'm not your slave," Evan said. "I'm your mirror," the council murmured in confusion. Vraxians snarled, "Enough riddles." This human spread weakness. He made my sister glow again, the cursed light of the old world. Evan turned his blind face toward the general. "You call it a curse. I call it life. That light is what your people lost when you chose fear over feeling." Shalra stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Brother, listen. Silence!" he shouted. "You shame our family. You shame the Empire." Shalra's golden eyes filled with tears, but she didn't back away. "No," she said softly. "You shame yourself." The guards raised their weapons. The elders' voices grew sharp and angry, but Evan's calm voice cut through the noise like thunder. "If you fear her light so much," he said, "then maybe you should see it for what it truly is." He turned to Shalra. "Show them." She stared at him, terrified. "They'll kill me." Evan smiled gently. "Then let them see what they're killing." Her hands trembled. Then she closed her eyes. The glow beneath her skin began to rise. Faint at first, then bright, gold and white, spreading like sunrise through the hall. The aliens shouted and stumbled back as their armor began to shimmer under the strange radiance. The silver masks of the council cracked, revealing pale faces beneath. The light filled the room, pure and soft, wrapping around everything like a living breath. Evan stood tall beside her, the glow reflecting in his blind eyes. "You see," he said. "You feared her beauty because you forgot what beauty means." The general fell to his knees, covering his eyes. "Stop it," he cried. "You'll destroy us all." "No," Evan said. "She's not destroying you. She's showing you what you really are." The walls of the chamber pulsed. The old stone carvings glowed with ancient symbols, long-forgotten words of peace and unity. The elders stared in awe. Shalra opened her eyes. They shone like stars. Her voice was calm now, strong. "This light is not a curse," she said. "It is the heart of our kind, when buried by pride, hidden by hate," one of the elders whispered, trembling. "It cannot be." The prophecy. "The light reborn!" Vraxians' breath came heavy. He looked up at his sister, no longer as a monster, but as something holy. His armor cracked down the center as the light touched it. Evan stepped closer to him. "You called me blind," he said quietly, "but I saw your truth before you did." The general looked at him with tears in his eyes. "What are you?" "Just human," Evan said. "And sometimes that's enough." The light slowly faded, leaving the hall glowing faintly with warmth. The soldiers stood frozen, unsure what to do. Shalra turned to Evan, her voice soft. "You've changed them." He shook his head. "No, Shalra. You did." She looked around at her people, frightened, humbled, silent. Then maybe. There's hope for us after all. Evan smiled faintly. Hope was always here. It just needed eyes that could finally see. The dawn rose quietly over the Vraxian capital. For the first time in centuries, real sunlight touched its towers. The sky, once gray and cold, now shimmered with soft gold and violet light. The same colors that once came only from Shalra's forbidden glow. Everywhere, silence held the world still. The people had seen what happened in the council hall. The story spread like wildfire. The cursed sister who shone with the light of life, and the blind human who showed them what it meant to truly see. Evan sat on the balcony of the council tower, his face turned toward the warmth of the rising sun. His eyes could not see it, but his heart felt every ray. The air smelled of new rain and melted metal, the scent of a world being reborn. Shalra stood beside him, her eyes soft, her golden light now gentle and calm. The marks of fear were gone from her face. She looked stronger, not because she had changed, but because she had stopped hiding. They are afraid of me, she said quietly, but it's a different kind of fear now. Evan smiled faintly. That's how change begins, with fear that can't find hate anymore. Below them, Vraxian citizens gathered in the streets, staring at the brightening sky. Some knelt. Others lifted their hands, touching the light as if it were holy. Shalra's voice trembled. They used to hide from the sun. Now they're waiting for it. Because they've seen truth, Evan said softly. And once you see it, you can't go back. Behind them, the great metal doors opened. General Vraxor entered, but he no longer wore his armor. He had stripped it away, wearing only a simple dark robe. His face looked older now, and his proud eyes had lost their anger. He stopped before them, then slowly bent one knee. Sister, he said quietly. I was wrong. Shalra froze. You? Yes, he said. I thought beauty was strength, and strength meant cruelty. But your light? It showed me what we lost. I am not worthy to stand before it. Evan turned his head toward him. Then stand anyway, he said calmly. The world doesn't need more people kneeling. It needs people who can walk beside the light, even when they're afraid. The general hesitated, then rose to his feet. What do we do now? Evan smiled faintly. You learn, you listen, and you stop pretending blindness is power. Vraxor lowered his head. And you, human? You've done what no one in our history could. You've changed us. Evan turned his face toward the wind. I didn't change you, he said. I only reminded you of something you already knew. Days passed. The Vraxian cities began to open their domes to the sunlight. The underground markets moved above ground. The old statues of war were torn down and replaced by gardens that glowed with living light. Children born after that day were told stories of the blind human who saw through darkness, and the golden sister who carried the heart of their people. Evan became a legend not through war or power but through peace, and yet in the quiet moments he never called himself a hero. One morning, Shalra found him sitting near the edge of the old fortress cliffs, listening to the sound of the waves far below. You miss your world, she said gently. Sometimes, he replied, but maybe the universe needed me here more. She sat beside him. Do you ever wish you could see again? Evan smiled. Once I did. Now I'm not sure. Maybe if I had my sight, I would have missed the truth. Shalra's voice was soft. And what truth is that? That beauty, he said, is not what eyes show, it's what hearts choose to feel. For a while, neither of them spoke. The wind blew gently, carrying the sound of laughter from the city below. Shalra looked at him, her light shimmering faintly under her skin. You gave them hope, she said. You gave me hope. Evan shook his head. No, Shalra. You were hope. I just helped them notice. She smiled, tears in her bright eyes, then let the galaxy notice too. Years later, long after Evan had left the Vraxian world to wander among the stars, travelers would still tell his story. They said a blind human once taught an entire species to see. They said a light once thought cursed became the dawn of a new age. And they said that somewhere in the endless sky, a faint golden glow still travels with a man who doesn't need eyes to find his way. The Vraxians built a monument where it all began, a statue of two figures standing side by side, hands almost touching. One carved from silver stone, eyes closed. The other glowing, faintly gold, wings open to the sun. At its base were words written in both human and Vraxian script. To see is not to look. To love is not to fear. The blind human showed us both. And when the twin suns of the Vraxian homeworld set behind the horizon, the monument would catch the last light of day, shining across the city, across the planet, and into the hearts of every living being who finally learned to see.